What's up, gang? Welcome in. It is a college football Saturday, week number 4 on the Johnston RV Center Saturday preview. Oh, God.
Big game, Starkville, man. Let's go.
That's early for a cowbell, man. Right there in my ear, too. JohnstonRVCenter.com. Saturday preview, I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. LT, you don't have a cowbell. How you doing today?
I'm good, man. Interesting game, man. You know, I mean, as much as things change with Nebraska in year 2 under Matt Rule, things stay the same. I mean,
what was it?
Possession games.
3rd and 42 in overtime? I don't think I've ever seen that one.
I've never seen it, ever. And they just continue to go backwards. And, hey, give Bielema a lot of credit, man. That's one of those teams, you know, I've talked about Indiana last week. But Bielema now has beaten Kansas. And he now has beaten Nebraska on the road, and they're undefeated. So Big Ten's weird this year.
Can we talk about officiating, though? I'm not an officiating guy, but I don't know why this is the case, but in other conferences, but, you know, the Big Ten is the other major conference. They don't know how to officiate athleticism as well as the folks in the SEC do. They don't – I mean, some of the pass interference calls some of the holding calls that went against both teams, I just didn't understand them. Some of the non-calls, it just wasn't consistent. And then Nebraska made so many stupid plays. You know, I know he was punching at the ball in the pile, but dude, he's in the pile already. That's another 15 yards. The grabbing of the face mask when 2 of your guys have him going to the ground anyway. Why are you reaching in at all? They made some stupid penalties that just gave big chunks of yardage to Illinois. I thought Nebraska was the better team. They had to injure to the kickers, so the punters doing the field goals, or the backup kickers doing the field goal that would have won the game there at the end. I thought Nebraska was just slightly better team, and they just kept self-inflicting themselves on stupid plays.
Well, and then they got the our buddy Marcus Satterfield schemes up a great play.
Perfect.
I mean, you got a big old white fullback as open as you're going to get him in the end zone. And Raiola, who I really, really like, kid's a really good quarterback.
Going to be really good.
He is. But everybody talks about how he looks like Patrick Mahomes. I think sometimes he tries to play a little too much like Patrick Mahomes. And that big old white running back is wide open in the end zone. And instead of just getting set and throwing it, he tries to just kind of float it out there off his back foot, little fancy throw. Didn't really have pressure, didn't have to do that, and it's just overthrown. And sure enough, Illinois gets the ball, and you know what's going to happen. They drive it right down the field on them.
Yeah, and that's I think that was a 3rd and 3, and you just wonder if in that kicker situation when you got your backup kicker at that point. I don't know if I'm not sitting here doing the Matt Rule postgame show or anything, but if I had a chance to talk to Matt and to Marcus, the first thing I'd say is, 4th and 3, man. I'd like my chances better with Raiola and a good play call, I think, than kicking in that situation.
Yeah, that was a pretty bad hook right there. Did anybody stay up for that hot San Jose State-Washington State game? Dunaway, did you skip date night for the Washington State-San Jose State game?
I skipped date night for what was a fantastic Illinois-Nebraska game. That atmosphere was juiced. That new facility they've got there in Lincoln. Again, I'm not doing the Matt Rule postgame show, but my goodness, that facility looked fantastic.
I couldn't stay up to the end. 54-52.
Yeah, I made it, and you'll be blown away because I haven't stayed up late in a while, but I was waiting on Jack to get home last night. So watch that game and then watch the movie after that.
Yeah, but I told you. I told you it'd be a shootout, though, right?
You did. You were right, Jimmy D. 54-52.
Well, I told you to watch out for San Jose. We had San Jose, our only loser last night. We were 2-1, and we had both dogs straight up winning outright in Stanford and San Jose, but we did back Nebraska last night. I thought Nebraska was going to make a statement last night on national television. I mean, again, I know we're going to move on and get to a bunch of different games. That was really disappointing, I'm sure, for Nebraska fans.
Hey, Pavlik, our buddy Brian Pavlik, Wazoo could run the table, then what? Here's what they got left. At Boise, that's a tough one, Lance.
That's a tough one.
At Boise. But if they get past if they get past that, at Fresno, host Hawaii, at San Diego State, host Utah State, at New Mexico, at Oregon State, Wyoming. I mean,
who'd they beat?
Well, they beat Washington.
Yeah,
I mean, that's it. They beat Washington, Texas Tech, and would have beaten Boise. They will have no good wins.
Washington's going to end up with 5 losses. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Northwestern – I mean, this game could go either way today, but I wouldn't be shocked if Northwestern was able to go into Seattle and win that game. Washington State, I brought up this past week when we were talking about Indiana again and the 24 teams, I think, that were on the playoff predictor. Washington State was one of those teams.
Yeah.
And, if Washington State goes undefeated, I think they would get the benefit of a couple of things. They are still considered Group 5, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
No. I mean, they are considered an independent, I believe, by the playoff.
Well, they're not Power 5.
They're not Power 5, and I don't think they're not in a Group of 5 conference.
So they're a man without a country.
Yeah, I think they would be considered that Group 5 team, though, because they're not in the Power 4. I think.
So you think the Group of 5 commissioners have signed off on giving up our spot to 2 teams you guys left behind? Maybe that is by rule, but
maybe I just don't know on that playoff predictor why they would have been so high. I mean,
if I'm Jimmy Sunbelt, I'd be sitting there going, "Wait a second." Or if I'm James Mountain West, I'd be going, "Whoa,
James Mountain West."
Are they not playing for anything then?
I guess not.
They won the Apple Cup, man. Apple Cup. And
nice
invite to the Holiday Bowl.
5 spot. I think they do. Anyway, with all that said, I still think those 2 games you pointed out, I don't see them winning both of those games at Boise and in Corvallis against Oregon State.
Yeah, that'd be
tough. If they go 12-0, I think they'd get that spot. I really do.
Well, they're not a bad football team, but they're going to have beaten nobody. You tell me, okay, give me UNLV. If they lose, have they lost a game yet, UNLV?
No, they're undefeated.
Okay, and a Group of 5 that lost to a Power 5 and then goes the rest of the way unbeaten. I'm going to give the bid to that team. They lost to a Power 5, good Power 5 team, and then they went on and won their conference. I don't know. I'm sleeping on Washington State.
Your shortest odds to get their Group of 5. I think going into the season it was Boise, but right behind them was Liberty based on schedule. Liberty, they go undefeated. People still would put them in. Washington State's a better team than Liberty.
Yeah, I don't think they'd put Liberty in.
Royal
said before the year, if Liberty was unbeaten with their schedule, not going to be in.
Royal Payne with a interesting Illinois at Penn State next week. A little more interesting, Lance. I mean, it's 2 undefeateds. What's your point spread on that one?
Well, depending on what Penn State, and I do have a play on that Penn State game, which is disgusting because I had somebody send me specifically on that game this morning. Are you kidding? Because Penn State's minus 49.
You got to play the games, Lance.
Yeah, you got to play the games.
You always say they come to you. You don't go to them, right?
Penn State. Yeah. So Penn State probably handles business going away, whether they win by 60 or 40, With that said, I think Illinois has people's attention now with that win last night. And then you go back to Kansas, and we'll see what Kansas does today in Morgantown. I would say Penn State is still going to be a touchdown plus favorite, much like Nebraska last night. Yep. Yeah, I still think Penn State's probably 8.5 to 10.
And those are not the games James Franklin loses. He does not lose to Illinois coming to. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
they will be top 25. He's not great in those.
I know Illinois had the scare against Bowling Green, but I would be really surprised if Illinois was to win that game. Illinois then solidifies himself as a contender if they went on the road in Happy Valley.
All right, let's get to today's games. It's the Johnston RV Center Saturday preview. Johnston RV Center, I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. Always online, johnstonrvcenter.com. Travel trailers starting as low as $145 a month there if you are looking for a fifth wheel. Discounts, $45,000 and more on fifth wheels right now. So you can get great deals at Johnston RV Center, I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. Always online, johnstonrvcenter.com. And if you're still looking for some of that tailgate food or just great lunch in a kind of 11 o'clock window, you want to get home for that 2:30 window, Champy's Chicken, a great place to go, Dunaway.
Oh, 2:30, 6:30 window is better with Champy's Chicken.
Yes.
Champy'schicken.com. They cook it today for you. And if you get it to go, man, it'll be if you get a family pack, it'll be in a big brown paper sack, and they put some white bread at the bottom that'll soak up that grease and some of the cracklings that pop down in there for the traveling home. And you get or you can get a big pan of it for your tailgate. Same with the wings. They got great wings there. The kebabs are good. The po' boys are good. The hand-cut chicken fingers. And don't forget the Mississippi Delta recipe tamales. It's all right there on Highway 119 in Alabaster, where, by the way, that's the home of Thompson. And Anquan Fegans last night took over that Thompson game. They were losing to Vestavia 17-14. 3 defensive turnovers. I think 2 defensive touchdowns for Thompson to win it coming back. And Fegans had a scoop and score, I think, forced a fumble, interception. He did everything in the second half if you're an Auburn fan.
How about that? All right. Lance stepped away so that you can ring the cowbell. We're going to talk Florida, Mississippi State. Give it to me, Dunaway. Is anyone at your house asleep? Well, they're not asleep anymore. Were they asleep when we started this show?
Get up. It's game day. No, nobody's at the house right now. Maggie would slap me in the face if I did that.
I bet.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're living in a world where this Florida team can give anybody 6.5 points on the road in the SEC, but they're doing just that today. It is stuck there all week. And the total is 58, Jimmy D. Straight out of game day, Florida at Mississippi State.
It's hard to go Mississippi State here. It really is. And I don't know if they'll win the game, and I don't even know if they'll keep it competitive after what I saw against Toledo. I just know that Florida comes in a broken program. Everyone now is talking about not if, but when. I'm Billy Napier, and who gets to make the hire and when you make the firing, because, is there an interim coach that's going to come up and take over? It was a talking point on game day. That's a lot of distraction going into Starkville, Mississippi, where they'll be fired up and trying to go. I'm going to go Florida here. I think they go Graham Mertz, but the key thing to watch is Eugene Wilson, the best wide receiver for Florida, one of the bright spots, out, surgery, and he's not playing. So a team with no weapons, LT, just lost one of their bigger ones, and now we'll see what they do on the road in the SEC.
Yeah, and Montreal Johnson last week against Texas A&M. Was that last week or 2 weeks ago?
That was last week. Yeah, because Lightweight played. Yeah, that was last week.
He was. I mean, I give A&M and Mike Ilkor a lot of credit. He was awful. So Montreal Johnson's got to step up, and whatever they do with this quarterback rotation, it is interesting that you're laying this many points on the road, and I think it shows you how bad Mississippi State is in year one under Jeff Levy, because this is a team in Florida that has lost 7 straight to FBS opponents. I mean, you guys remember a day when Florida football was dominant.
Yep.
It was the equivalent of what you get with Ohio State, what you get basically with Alabama. I mean, they were one of the 2 or 3 best programs in college football for 15 years. And it's just hard to believe they're 1-7 against the spread their last 8 games. They don't win. They don't cover. I don't know what the expectation is. I wonder if any Florida fans make that trip. Florida is a proud fan base, a weird fan base, in my opinion. But, I mean, how many go to Starkville? How can you be excited about that?
Why would you? Why would you at this point,
I'd give it away with a good Mississippi Delta recipe tamale.
That's right.
Get 2 tickets and a tamale.
You might get some takers for that. Lance, NC State is at Clemson. This has been a disappointing NC State team. I think I know you and I thought they would be better. Dunaway, I don't know what you thought NC State would be, but the Wolfpack has been very disappointing. They're at Clemson, who we thought rebounded against Appalachian State, until we watched Appalachian State get walked out of their own stadium by USA. I do not know what to think about this 11 a.m. ABC game, but I do know Clemson's an 18-point favorite, a total of 44.
Yeah, there are some 11 o'clock games I took a look at. This is not one of them. This is a really, really difficult game because, NC State, if Grayson McCall was playing, I think him and Jordan Waters enough to maybe control some clock and get out of there with at least a cover. If I'm Clemson, if I'm Dabo, I continue to push the pedal, though, right? Okay, we got beat by Georgia, but everything's still in front of us. We can still win 11 games. We win a conference championship. We can still get into a college football playoff. I think Clemson wins the game. NC State, I thought they were really interesting because we talk about, teams like Illinois and Indiana and, I thought coming into the season, NC State was one of those teams that Dave Doeren never is able to get over the hump and win 10 games. But with Grayson McCall coming into this offense, thought maybe they could be a sleeper in the ACC, but that is going out the window.
Yeah, I had Clemson winning the ACC in the preseason, and but this was going to be a big game along the way, Brownie, and it still could be a big game. This NC State team has some talent. I don't think you really take the beat down to Tennessee to heart. Tennessee could be just that good on a neutral site in Charlotte, but almost 3 touchdowns last one I saw when I made this little note. I don't know what you said it was right now.
18.
It was 20 and a half when I wrote this note down yesterday.
Wow, 18 this morning at MyBookie.ag. Maybe
so it's slinging back the other way. And if you believe NC State can keep it close, or maybe if you think Clemson can get over that, Cade Klubnik's got to show it to me. They got to find their running game again. The defense will be good. Clemson wins the game. I just don't know if I'm going better here, I'm going to stay away from this one.
Yeah, MyBookie.ag code next round to play. That's where all these lines come from. You play all those games at MyBookie.ag code next round. I had not thought about talking about this game, but since Andrew asked, we are here to serve. Lance, you got any thoughts on Tulane -3?
I was going to play the Raging Cajuns. I stayed away because it is an 11 o'clock game, and we ended up getting out 1-1 last week playing 2 11 o'clock games. And the 2 I like, so I'm leaving them on the table, so they're probably winners. Louisiana Lafayette was one of those. I think Tulane's really good. I said before the season that I thought Tulane and South Florida, that winner of that game would end up being the G5 rep. But Tulane's already got 2 losses, which isn't surprising. I mean, the Kansas State game was back and forth. Really, the Oklahoma game got away from them late. You know, they had a pick 6. It was a 1-possession game. Tulane's a good team. I don't know why this number is so short, but it tells me this is one of those Tulane better team, but Louisiana wins a game.
Yeah, see, that's you can explain that if you want to, or you can keep that as proprietary information. But
it's not a secret. It's a phenomenon. I can't explain it.
If this was Billy Napier's Louisiana Lafayette team from a few years ago, I'd understand with some real good Power 5 talent there. But LT, you're telling me that just because Tulane has lost to Kansas State and Oklahoma, that they're a lesser team than it. Well, I don't know what they're seeing. This seems like Jimmy Lehman here, pound Tulane all day long. Tulane.
Yeah, look, in sometimes obvious games, like there are. I had a guy text me yesterday, and he's actually, you know, he's a established handicapper that's been doing it forever, and he's in another market, a large market. He's like, I think I'm going to play a huge 2-team money parlay on USC and Tennessee. And I was like, it looks too easy, just laying the money lines on those teams. Like one of those 2 teams is going to lose, and I can't explain it. I completely stayed away from USC and Michigan because USC looks too easy, but I think it's Michigan's defense. Of course, I said this 2 weeks ago with Texas. One of those teams is going to lose, though. And I don't know who it is, but USC or Tennessee, I believe, will lose the game outright.
How many plays you got up at Lance's Lock today? Was it 11?
We've got 13. 13. First game doesn't go to 1. We've got 2 games going at 1 o'clock. We've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2:30 games. We've got a 4 o'clock game, and we've got, I think, 5 primetime games.
Yeah, and you're going live right after we're finished here at Lance's Lock.
Yep.
All right, so check that out, Lance's Lock on social media. Real quick before we move on, Royal Payne, Ohio 2-1. Could Kentucky be asleep in an 11 a.m. game? That is going to be you had such a juiced environment against Georgia. You got so close. That is going to be a sleepy 11 o'clock crowd. Don't know if it's sleepy enough for Kentucky to lose that game. Those are not the ones Mark Stoops loses generally.
It is not, but it's usually the ones that end up being, 10-3 at the halftime and the crowd's booing when they go in. I don't think this Ohio team's as good as usual. 11:45 SEC network. I expect Kentucky to win, but how banged up are they after that physical game?
Yeah, that's one of the things to look at. It's like, and I know this is a weird analogy, but I don't know if you guys have ever been in a bad car wreck, but the soreness like a week later. Yeah. I think playing a Georgia is probably the same situation. And that's right. Ridiculous. But I think there is a physical hangover when you play a team like that. And especially, not only the physical side, the emotional side. I said this Monday on the show. That was the first time, since 2020, Georgia's offense has really struggled in Lexington. But I legitimately thought Kentucky had a chance to win that game. So not only the physical side for Kentucky, but the emotional side. But I said this yesterday, too, on the next round, that this is one of those fun games to watch because if it comes down to a final possession on who covers, watch how Mark Stoops coaches, watch how he uses timeouts, and watch how he will speed up offenses to make sure he's running a 2-minute to cover a number. And I'm not exaggerating this.
One other 11 o'clock game I want to talk about before we move to the really good 2:30 window. Kansas at West Virginia, Dunaway. Kansas West Virginia a 1-point favorite. The total is 56. 11 a.m. ESPN2. It's actually 2 disappointing teams, but could be a close game.
Yeah, important game, I think, for the momentum of Lance Leopold and to continue what Neil Brown did last year. He's lost some close rivalry-like games this year. This would be a good win for him at Morgantown. And I think both of his big losses have been at home, right? Pitt last week was on the road. It's a good game. Both coaches didn't expect to be in this situation right now. For me, can Kansas's quarterback and that offense get going again? That was the reason why a lot of people had Kansas winning the Big 12, and Jalen just hadn't looked the same this year.
He hasn't, and he's looked good in spots. Early against UNLV last Friday night, he looked good. And if you would have told me that on September 21st, both of these teams were 3-0, it was a primetime game, I wouldn't have been surprised at all. I would have thought there was a better chance both West Virginia and Kansas were undefeated at this time than sitting in the situations they're sitting in. And I think it's big for both. I thought Kansas was one of the 4 or 5 teams that could win the Big 12. I know there were some people that had West Virginia actually winning the Big 12. It was that wide open this year. I never really had West Virginia in that conversation. I thought they would be better than they are right now. But I really thought Kansas with a healthy Jalen Daniels would be much better. This was the other game at 11 o'clock. I do like Kansas, though. I like Kansas in this spot. I didn't play it, but I think Kansas wins this game.
Johnston RV Center, I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. They bring you the show. Travel trailers as low as $145 a month. Fifth wheels, discounts, $45,000 and more. As always, they love the United States military the way we do on our show. There's no way we could possibly say thank you, but as a small gesture of gratitude, they give you a great discount there at JohnstonRVCenter.com. I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. JohnstonRVCenter.com. Also, great lunch place today is Champy's Chicken.
That's right. Champy's Chicken, Highway 119 in Alabaster. All I can say, the food's great. Sterling and the whole team there, over a decade, a lot of those people have been together there. Just unbelievable, down home, great food, but also customer service. It's like family when you go there on a consistent basis. They'll take care of you. It's a destination lunch place, Highway 119 in Alabaster. It's champyschicken.com.
All right, let's go to the 2:30 window. Auburn is in this window. EG will join us in a moment. She's headed down there. But let's start with the game, Lance, that you were playing. You got several plays at the 2:30 window. One of those, the alphabet game, LSU playing host to UCLA. The Tigers, Bayou Bengals, 21-point favorites in this one, total of 56.5. It is the 2:30 ABC game from Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, I think this is one of those games where it is a get-well game for Brian Kelly. There's no expectation. Deshaun Foster, year one, UCLA, now coming West Coast, East Coast. Weird scheduled game here, by the way, for LSU to play both USC and UCLA in the first month of the season. Pretty incredible.
It is weird, yeah.
Yeah.
But when you scheduled it, it looked a lot harder than it does now. I mean, UCLA is not very good.
Yeah, look, I faded UCLA. I had Hawaii earlier in the season. They should have won the game. Last week had Indiana. It wasn't even close. They thumped them in the Rose Bowl. And I'm going to tell you, I've got LSU. The thing that concerns me is this number's dipped down a little bit. Like it was 22.5. It's kind of what we posted it at. It's dipped down to 21.5. I think it's get well on both sides of the ball. I think Nussmeier and Kyron Lacey put up numbers. And I think Blake Baker, this is an opportunity for your defense to actually pitch a shutout. And that's not an exaggeration. Like I think UCLA is that bad.
You say the numbers dip down a little bit, and I also dabble not just at MyBookie.ag, but also at DraftKings. And I went to set up a lineup today, and I noticed the backup quarterback more expensive than Nussmeier. Is there anything going on there you've heard with Nussmeier that Nussmeier was actually cheaper than the backup quarterback?
Yeah, and it's very interesting because I played Nussmeier, and I thought that was because sometimes that's a telltale sign. And I forgot who the running back was for UAB a couple of years ago. That a couple of weeks he was like the most expensive running back, and he ended up every Saturday he was that guy. He went like 3 touchdowns and 200 yards. But I haven't heard anything about 2 quarterbacks playing in this. Maybe the expectation, because I did notice there are a lot of backup quarterbacks that are pretty pricey on DraftKings today in the early window. And you just wonder if it's because those numbers are so big, they expect both quarterbacks to play. I don't. If I'm Brian Kelly, if you get comfortably up, 42 points, then, I can bring a backup in. But I think this is a situation where you get as much offense out there as you possibly can.
And keep in mind, because it's not an SEC game, there is no injury report on that Dunaway. So if there is an injury, Brian Kelly could have hidden that all week and nobody would know if he's a little bit banged up and he's not going to play. So maybe Vegas knows and we do not. All right, USC and Michigan, Dunaway in the big house. 4-point favorite USC. This number has just dropped slowly all week. It's down to 4 this morning at MyBookie.ag. 2:30 CBS game. 44 points is the total. LT wearing the colors right there. Dunaway, this number keeps sinking, man.
Who pays for those lights in Las Vegas?
You and me, and me, people like us.
I mean, my goodness. I mean, how do you not take USC and just give that small of a point? I mean, are the signs pretty? Do they buy new cards and new chips every week?
Every week, man. Every week out there.
Do they have thousands of employees in Las Vegas and palm trees everywhere?
Cheap food.
I will tell you the way to play this, and I'm trying to save people money. And you guys know that USC is kind of my chosen team from years and years ago. Really enjoy watching the Trojans coming off a bye. I mean, everything says USC is a much better team because after 2 games, and I know it was LSU and Utah State, but they've held their opponents to only 204 rushing yards. They're not missing tackles. This DeAnt and Lynn defense is legitimate, I think. I think they've got great athletes. You saw how they transformed their bodies in the offseason to be bigger and faster. Miller Moss is the real deal. They've got playmakers. I think USC is a really good team, and I think it goes one of 2 ways. This is the first time these two have met on campus since 1958. Michigan in these situations as a home dog the last 10 times, they're 2-8 straight up. They don't win these games, but I think Michigan either wins the game or I think USC pops them. I think Orgy is really bad, turning the football over multiple times, and everybody's like, that's the easiest money out there. Or on the other side, people are like, damn, this is why I don't gamble. Like, I can't believe USC looked this easy, but there is a reason it's dropping. There is sharp money, really intelligent gamblers that do this for a living that have Michigan plus the points. I can't do it. I think Michigan is the right way. If I was going to play this, I would play under the 44 because I do think Michigan is going to have a problem offensively. And I think if Michigan is going to stay in this game, which I think they will, I think it will be their defense.
Yeah, it feels to me like there's a lot of rich people in Vegas that are Michigan grads, and they're the one betting on Michigan. But I mean, there's no way, right? That great defensive coordinator is, I mean, they tipped their hand. They're playing Orgy, and he has 7 career passes. They're going to run it. They're going to shorten the clock. It's hard to imagine Michigan winning this game outright, but the number's the number. So
I don't even think you can fake it now. Davis Warren was that bad. One of these incredible stories that, you were hoping if you were Michigan, you're undefeated and you've got a Tom Rinaldi doing a story on Davis Warren. And maybe he's already done one. I don't know. It's a great story, but he's not a good quarterback, at least at this level. And he's not going to win you games. I mean, you have had a massive drop off from J.J. McCarthy, and you really haven't with USC. I know it's 2 games, but going back to the bowl game against Louisville in the Holiday Bowl, Miller Moss has been really, really good. Just a confident kid. The ball placement has been incredible and just hasn't made mistakes. But again, I've got this weird feeling that USC loses this game. I hope I'm wrong. I think it's going to be a really competitive game, but aesthetically, I don't think it's going to be. If you like defense, I think you're going to like this game because I think this game is going to play in the teens. I think it's like a 17-14 type game.
All right, Auburn is at home today. Big game that we've talked about all week for both sides, Auburn and Arkansas. E.G. is going to be down there for us. Emily Grace McWhorter joins us now. E.G., welcome in. How are you this morning?
Hello, good morning. Happy week 4. Can't believe we're already here.
AG, the hair looks good. Got a little movement in it.
Thank you. Guys, I discovered hairspray, and this is the result.
Okay.
Did Lance just tell E.G. she's got some movement in her hair? I like it, LT.
Someone needs to clip that. That was incredible.
Yeah, I know these women take a lot of pride in their hair, and it needs to look a little different. Guys are so boring when it comes to hair, right? E.G., we get on one hairstyle and we roll with it for 20 years.
Not me.
Yeah, I think my hairstyle is older than EG. I really think so. I think I've worn my hair like this for forever. But anyway,
you find yourself thinning, Dr. B is the place to go.
That's right.
EG is learning the game. So what is that storyline you're looking for? Because I do think it's a fascinating game. Pittman is coaching for his life. I think Arkansas is better than advertised. And Auburn, on the other hand, if they are to drop 2 games, when we looked at this 5-game run to start the season at Jordan-Hare, if they were to go 2-2 and losing it as a home favorite to both Cal and Arkansas before they hit the meat of their SEC schedule, Auburn fans, it's going to be a frenzy.
It's interesting because it seems like when you look at both teams, they both really need this win. And I don't know, 4 weeks ago, we would be having that conversation of the, depth of what this game means for both fan bases, both teams. I think for me, it's going to come down to whatever defense can stop the run. I think that should be the key for both teams, is to rely on their running backs, because through the air, Taylon Green, you guys know he's, not great. He's thrown a few interceptions, especially against UAB. And then Hank Brown / Auburn. Obviously, we haven't seen Hank as much, but they're averaging a couple turnovers a game. So I think it will be high scoring. I'm excited to go down there and see the environment. But you bring up a good point about, Auburn fans, it being a home game. How much more can the fans take if you drop 2 games against Cal and Arkansas in a span of 3 weeks?
Yeah, I'm interested in we always make a big deal about this, and I don't know how big a deal it is, but Bobby Petrino calling plays, DJ Durkin on defense for Auburn, those two together at Texas A&M last year. How well do they know each other? Their paths have crossed for a long, long time. This seems like it's a spin the wheel day. There's so many storylines that I don't know what's going to happen in this game. I usually have a feel, EG. I don't have a feel. I don't know what's going to happen today. This is my favorite game on the slate.
I think my only surefire prediction is that it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be a shootout back and forth. Now, I don't think Auburn, Brown, you agree with me? I don't think
I agree 100%. I've been saying it all week, EG. Yeah, track meet.
Yeah, I don't think Auburn wants it to get to that point where they're falling behind. Well, yes, they do need a fast start. I do think they just need to be consistent with their play calling. I think that they need to march down the field on that opening drive. And obviously that's a key for any game. You want to score on the opening drive, but someone needs to set the tone first. And I think whatever team does that, they're going to run away with it.
Yeah, look, Jaquan Jackson, and you heard Roman Harper on the show yesterday talking about he believes he's the best running back in the SEC, and I think you can easily make that argument. He's been really, really good. Got to stop him. And on the other side, I think what Auburn was able to do in the second half against New Mexico, and I hate to even utter that sentence, what they were able to do against New Mexico. But Alston and Hunter running the football, I think that is key to really settling things down for Hank Brown. I do have a play on this game. I finally figured it out, AG. I've got to play on the game, though. And I do like the side in Arkansas Auburn. But I do think run game is so important for both sides here.
Yeah, and Hank, you saw the second half. There was some defensive adjustments made, which I think for Auburn, they've been able to do really well at the half as they can come out. They need a complete game, too. That's another thing for me is that their defense needs to do what they've been doing second half and show that in the first half as well. But Hank did a good job of checking down to some running backs, and it worked. And we usually don't see that from Auburn. Keep that going this week. Don't try to get fancy.
All right, EG. I'm sorry, Brownie. I know both of you and Little T are down there today, dressed by the Pants Store, right? Both of you today?
Yes, Dressed by the Pants Store. We greatly appreciate them. They've got great game day wear for girls and guys. They've got specific game day colors. If you want to do Auburn, you want to do Bama, and they've got everything else. They've got homeware, they've got gifting. So check out the Pants Store. There is one in Auburn and Tuscaloosa.
I mean, Lance, EG's been with us about a year. We these reads, man, we've got her. I think you've taught her well, Lance.
Yeah, I like it. And by the way, EG's going to be doing a little thing with our friends at Ghost, her and Taylor, some ghost stories on the street down there in
nice.
So looking forward to that.
You got anything on Ghost, EG? You want to give us something on Ghost?
Ghost, if it's an early kick down on the plains at 11 a.m. or in Tuscaloosa, you need some energy.
EG, I am just going to guess you have not. I know you've been with our man Mikey for a while, but I'm going to guess you've never been ghosted. Have you ever ghosted anybody?
I remember this was like in middle school, a guy was texting me and I didn't reply for like 2 weeks. And I told him that my phone died and I couldn't find a charger.
Hey, here's your ghost question of the day.
Find a charger.
Here's your ghost question of the day down on the plains when you and Little T are walking around.
Okay.
Has anyone ever ghosted you as much as Hugh Freeze has Peyton Thorne?
Wow.
Oh.
Wow. I like that one, actually.
That is good. Good.
Yes, I like it. Good job, Dunaway.
I did think that this was real quick. I thought that it was ghost stories, like haunted stories at first, but now I'm realizing it's relational ghosting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you can get a haunted story, go ahead. I mean,
whatever you get, anything that's good, we'll take any good content. You'll be with the queen of content, Little T. She knows it. All right, thebarnauburn.com postgame as well. You'll be with them postgame, and EG will have stuff up and Little T at Next Round Live on social media for all of Auburn and Arkansas today. EG, safe travels. Have fun.
Bye, guys.
All right, see ya. That's Emily Grace McWhorter with us. She is headed down to Auburn. Guys,
I do think, though, I don't think, nationally, I don't think people realize the importance. I think locally we realize the importance of this game. I mean, again, there was a better chance, and I think we probably asked this question multiple times, different ways. But what was Auburn's record going to be after those 5 home games? And I think most people said 5-0, even with Oklahoma coming into town.
Yeah.
Nobody expected Cal. Everybody thought, Arkansas was going to be reeling by this point. And now there is a legitimate opportunity that they drop to 2-2. There's no surprise if Arkansas loses this game. If Arkansas has multiple losses in September, that was kind of expected. But in year 2, if Hugh has a second loss in this game, that is a massive problem. I know you guys realize it. I wonder if other people realize how quickly this fan base is going to turn on Hugh.
Yeah. 4-1 at worst, right? Is what we thought. I mean, maybe Oklahoma was good. 4-1. You go the rest of the season after a 4-1 start. This would be amazing if it ends up being 2-3.
There are 16 teams in the SEC now. You know who is 14th against the pass? Arkansas. 16th against the pass? Auburn. Hank Brown and Taylon Green are playing the defenses they want to play today if they're going to have a day. We'll see which quarterback can take advantage of that. Neither team has been good at all against the pass this year. One more 2:30 game before we jump to the really good 3 o'clock game. Louisville, Georgia Tech. Dunaway. Georgia Tech, Louisville. Lance, you've got to play on this one. Louisville, a 10-point favorite at home. 57 is the total for this 2:30 ESPN2 game.
Yeah, I think Dunaway and I are completely against each other on this one. Just because I had it in the pick 3, I think people kind of know. On Dunaway's side, the positives, Georgia Tech 14-5 against the number as a dog since 2022. So the Ramblin' Wreck's been really, really good in this spot. They're 7-1 their last 8 against the number versus ranked teams. I think Louisville could end up being the best team in the ACC, and I think we get a little more of a gauge on this. I think Louisville's defense is really, really good. But at the same time, I think you asked it, who's a better quarterback? Either one of you guys asked it this week. The better quarterback is Haynes King, I think. Tyler Shuck's a good quarterback. See if he can stay healthy for a full 12. But I think Louisville's ability to run the football and their defense will be the difference in this game. And this is an inflated number. I thought this number would come more 7. It's 10. A lot of people question, why is this double digits? We'll see.
Yeah. So would you give me 10?
Oh, here we go.
For stake bet? I mean, I will take Georgia Tech for plus 10 on the road in the hostile Cardinal Stadium in Louisville, whatever it is, the Yum KFC Lick Your Finger Stadium up there. I'll take the Tech.
Sure.
Okay,
all right.
There we go.
And show stake bet. Flash the lights. New York Butcher Shop brings us the steak bets. While we're at it, let's just talk about New York.
Yeah. I'm going to get by the New York Butcher Shop at some point today. Fantastic to pick up steaks, smash burgers, great sides, incredible selection of desserts, wines. 2 locations: Cabo Heights, Highway 119 in Greystone. Rare quality, well done service. New York Butcher Shop.
What's that buzzing? It's the swarm of Georgia Tech.
Okay,
Here we go.
Hell of an engineer. Boy, I tell you, maybe the game I'm most excited about on the slate today is Utah, Oklahoma State. No, it's not. It's Tennessee, Oklahoma. But Utah, Oklahoma State, I'm excited about. Oklahoma State is a 1-point favorite in this one. Dunaway. Utah, 53 is the total. 3 o'clock on Fox. This is maybe even a preview of the Big 12 championship game, but you got to think it's certainly going to factor into who plays in that Big 12 championship game.
I mean, is Cam rising? Speaking of playing, can he grip a football this week? Can he walk? I mean, can he?
Yeah, both arms.
Is he in a tent? I mean, he's the oldest player, it seems like, in college football. He's also the one we talk most about, whether or not he's playing every week. If he plays, it'll be interesting. The bottom line, though, Lance, to me, and I'll let you talk about this, is I don't think this Utah defense is as good as Utah defenses of the last few years. And I think that's why Oklahoma State wins the game today.
I was shocked at red zone at how bad they were last week against Utah State in spots. And I was really surprised that Isaac Wilson played as well as he did against Utah State. And I still think that is one of the things I think the problem is, and I was confused. I thought it was Cam Rising's non-throwing hand, the injury.
I thought so too. Is it not?
It's apparently on his throwing hand. So there's a couple of factors. Obviously, on the throwing hand, it's hard for him to grip it. But I also saw that Utah goes under center more than any other Power 5 team.
That hurts.
Yeah, and so I think there is that question. I think also Isaac Wilson looking as good as he did or much better than expected last week. I think Whittingham thinks maybe they can win with Isaac Wilson. I don't know. This is a massive game. It's hard to believe this is only the second time Oklahoma State and Utah have ever played. And you got to go back to 1945 in Salt Lake when Oklahoma State won that game 46-6. But I've talked about this, the two most ranked teams since 2014 to yet to be in a postseason. So I think it's obviously a big game for both Whittingham and Gundy. I lean Oklahoma State. If Rising plays, though, it's a game I didn't play.
One game you did play, you showed your shirt earlier. I got the Mustangs on. Big Iron Skillet battle today. SMU at home against TCU. The Horned Frogs, 2.5-point favorites going across the Metroplex to take on SMU. Total of 59. It's 4 o'clock CW game. You got to play on this one, Lance. At
I do. This is one of those games before the season. I thought one of the better total plays was SMU's over 8.5, coming off 11 wins, first year in the ACC. I thought that they kind of gave you a fair number based on the fact they thought they were going to have a tough transitional year. And it's looked like that. Like SMU is not as good as I thought they were last year. Preston Stone has struggled. The offensive line has been really bad. You wonder where TCU is, though, coming off the loss to Central Florida. They had that game at hand. And obviously the Knights make an incredible comeback, win that game. And, TCU emotionally, mentally, where is that team coming into this game?
Yeah, that's a great point about that. But it being a rivalry game helps a little bit. And, you speak of SMU and the transition. It's just been bad quarterback play to me. You mentioned the starter who returned, who got injured last year, and then the backup who replaced him. You had two quarterbacks. You're rotating, yo-yoing them to start with, which I didn't think was a great coaching move by Rhett Lashley there. Now you've settled on one, and neither one is playing great. Feels like a very big get-right game today for SMU for me.
All right, let's go to the night slate. A reminder, the show presented by MyBookie, or the lines come from MyBookie.ag Code next round. MyBookie.ag Code next round. The show is presented by JohnstonRVCenter.com. I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 indicator. Always online, JohnstonRVCenter.com. Travel trailers as low as $145 a month. Fifth wheels, big-time discounts. $45,000 and more discounted on the fifth wheels. RV warranty forever. Make sure you got that lifetime warranty on anything new and qualifying pre-owned. JohnstonRVCenter.com. I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 indicator. JohnstonRVCenter.com. And Champy's world famous fried chicken.
If you're a big Auburn fan, you want to see more Hunter running the football. You don't have to hunt far for the best food in town. Wow. It's Champy's Chicken. Champy's Chicken right there on 119. And if you want to see more of Alston running the football today for the Auburn Tigers, you can run on down to Champy's Chicken on Highway 119 and enjoy the great Mississippi Delta recipe tamale. See the whole menu at champyschicken.com. And they never, ever put anything in the freeze or at champyschicken.com right there on Highway 119 in Alabaster.
It's vintage right there. Put that one, hang it in the Louvre. All right, let's go to the night slate. 6 o'clock ESPN2, Dunaway. If you like watching the car wrecks in NASCAR, Cal and Florida State feels like that. Florida State somehow a 2.5-point home favorite, Dunaway. 44.5 is your total in this one. As Nick Saban said on game day this morning, Florida State's been favored against everybody, and they've lost all those games.
He also made another good point, which was you have to know the story to catch the shot. But he said, you build your program by the portal, and, there's a reason those guys are in the portal. Well, Florida State got more players from one program than they did anybody else in the portal. And those were Alabama guys. Yeah, 5 of them. And they were Alabama guys. And I think Nick Saban was telling you that those 5 guys probably were looking to get out of Tuscaloosa because they didn't like their situation in Tuscaloosa. And when they saw an opening with Nick Saban, they left. And that was interesting for the coach to say it that way about a Florida State program that got 5 of his players there. It was not very complimentary about the Florida program on game day with the facilities and everything around, and not very complimentary on how Florida State has gone about building a roster. Cal has become my favorite team to watch this year, just the way they play football. It feels like Florida State's got to win sooner or later, but I love watching Cal play football.
Yeah, look, Jay Nott's back. So I think that I know he's listed as probable right now, but he's missed the last couple of games after spraining that ankle. And, that really is their offense, as good as Mendoza can be at the quarterback position. But, the only thing that scares me with Cal, like Florida State, where would you put them with Auburn? Obviously, Cal had a battle on the road against Auburn. Is Florida State – think that Auburn and Florida State are equivalent, right? I mean, if they played neutral site, probably a pick.
I mean, I'd like the way Florida State's playing. I'd like Auburn in that game, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the point spread would be.
And I mentally, I don't know where Florida State is. When do we start having guys that decide to legitimately tap out of a season? But Cal going from Berkeley to Auburn, back West Coast to play San Diego State, now we're going back East Coast. How much does travel really start to affect this team? I think Cal is a better team straight up. I didn't think there was in any world we'd be saying that in 2024. They are the better team. I stayed away from the game. Florida State's got to win a game, right? They have to.
At some point, but I'm telling you, we looked at it this week. 0-6 start is absolutely on the table, and they may go 0-4 today. All right, let's go to the big game of the day. It's where game day is. It's the 6:30 ABC game. Dunaway, he's frozen. Oh, okay. We lost him. Jim, it is like you were just staring at me. Let's get rid of that, Jim, and let's add that, Jim. Hey, you're back. How are you, Jim?
I'm back on the phone now. For some reason, my computer died. Then I realized that, have you ever done this? You have the cord to charge it, to keep it charged, plugged in the side of it, but you didn't quite push it all the way in.
All the way in, yeah.
Got to go all the way in on that thing.
Jay said, is Jim frozen or having a stroke? You're just staring at the camera. Brad wants to make that your avatar. Napster says that was creepy as hell.
Yeah. Well, you guys know all these years I'm going to give you creepy as hell at one point.
Jim went full Mitch McConnell there. You remember Mitch McConnell was just staring at the camera? All right. Tennessee is at Oklahoma, Lance. One of your plays at lanceslock.com. The Vols favored 7 this morning at MyBookie.ag. It's hung around there all week just about. Total of 57, 6:30 ABC game. One thing about this total, Lance, is I think a lot of people think Tennessee will run up and down the field. Vegas with a total of 57 doesn't think Tennessee's just going to score at will here.
Well, look, Oklahoma's defense is good. I mean, Oklahoma, they lead the nation in takeaways. I think that's something people are sleeping on. They're only giving up 2.2 yards per rush. The offense has not been good. I mean, they're averaging 325 yards, which is third fewest in the SEC. I mean, Tennessee is outgaining their opponents by more than 150 yards more than that, outgaining their opponents by 478 yards. Tennessee has been great offensively. They've been great defensively. They've yet to give up a touchdown. But Oklahoma's defense is what will keep them in this game, in my opinion. And I think it starts with limiting Dylan Sampson. Whether or not they can do that, leading the FBS with 9 touchdowns, we'll see. They limit Dylan Sampson and put all the pressure on Nico with what should be today the best atmosphere in all of college football. I think it could be a long night for Nico.
I was so impressed with the Nebraska atmosphere last night. I forgot what it could look like for a big game. I think I'm going to be equally impressed with Oklahoma tonight on what it can look like for a big game. Two stadiums that used to be, when I was a kid, would always host those big games with each other. And now, because of the way they've been, and with Oklahoma's big games being on the road, you just don't see a lot of games like this in prime time. Looking so much forward to this contest. And really, what do we know about Tennessee? They look good. They check every box. But if NC State's really bad, what do we know about this team? And we'll see the young quarterback. We'll see Josh Heupel against Brent Venables, 2 great minds on each side of the football. We'll find out what Tennessee has tonight. I think the Vols win this thing. You guys know that. I think they win it by double digits just because of the lack of offense from Oklahoma. Arnold's been struggling, but really it's the offensive line. And Tennessee's defense looks that good. But we really don't know yet about Tennessee, and we'll find out tonight, I think, a little bit more.
All right, there is one late game that's worth staying up for, the latest game, a little Big 12 after dark tonight. Kansas State on the road at BYU, 9:30 ESPN. I did a double take, and I'm even going back and checking, and maybe this is what Lance wants to hear when I say things like this. 6.5 points at BYU, that's a pretty big number to be laying on the road for Kansas State, it feels like, Lance.
Well, I think people there wasn't an expectation. BYU had really a bad year in their transition to the Big 12 last year, so I don't think there was an expectation. But, BYU, not a bad team, undefeated right now. That's kind of a weird place to play to in Pro Bowl. Kansas State's already had some big games, some big game moments. Kansas State's a better team, but, BYU is good enough and physical enough to keep this close.
Yeah, I think this looks a lot like Kansas State at Tulane, where the lesser team is able to battle Kansas State till the end. In Norman, the Sooners have won 91% of their games since 1999. I don't have a cool number like that for BYU, but it seems like every other year, Kalani Sitake's team is pretty good, and this is the other year where they're pretty good. Starts with a salty defense, and I've been really impressed with Jake Retzlaff at quarterback. You never know how old the BYU players are and why they are good every other year. But in that place, you saw yesterday on my pick 3, that blue oval with the Y in the middle. I think BYU plays this one close and maybe wins it outright.
Scotty had him. Look at him in the upset alert. Forrester has got the Cougs tonight. BYU. Scott. Oh, Dunaway says, good pick. There you go, course on him. Good pick.
Very fast by you.
All right, let me remind people coverage of Auburn today. Alabama, of course, is off. They did announce game day in Tuscaloosa. I thought that was a foregone conclusion, but they did officially announce it next week.
Yep.
I don't think anybody was surprised by that one. They even said it that way when Reese made the announcement. So game day in Tuscaloosa next week. But Bama is off today. All post-game coverage for Auburn, thebarnauburn.com, thebarnauburn.com. You'll see E.G., Kyle, Zach, all the crew, Brad Law, everybody, thebarnauburn.com. Join for $1 and get some great post-game on that. And also at Next Round Live. Both Little T and EG going to be down there, so you get some of that at Next Round Live. The show today, presented as always by Johnston RV Center, I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 indicator, johnstonrvcenter.com is the website to go to. Great deals right now. Go see America in the fall with an RV from johnstonrvcenter.com. And Dunaway, Champy's world famous fried chicken.
Yeah, and before I tell you about Champy's, it'll be interesting next week with game day there, home game for Nick Saban. Then he'll be in his booth. I wonder how much, if any, Fowler and Herbstreit brings him into the broadcast.
Oh, yeah.
Because who would have more insight than the players on Alabama and the way Kirby and really the players on Georgia, because Nick recruited those guys too, and just they lost them to Georgia. I think we may see Nick Saban as in-game analyst for a little bit next week in that primetime broadcast. If not, I'd be disappointed because what a perfect brain to pick during the game with Herbstreit and Fowler because of his knowledge of the talent. Knowledge of good food is what Sterling has for you, man. He brines that chicken overnight, and then he cooks it up to order. It's piping hot when it comes out. Perfect to come home and watch the games. So much. Check the menu out, champyschicken.com, and say hi to Sterling, one of the great guys. He's one of the good ones.
All right, Lance, 13 plays up, lanceslock.com. Where can they see you live in just a few moments? Tell us what you got going today.
Yeah, we'll be on the X on Lance's Lock, so we'll be shooting that out in just a couple of minutes. Got to get that straight. But yeah, 13 plays today. We don't have a game going off until 1 o'clock. 2 in that window. We've got 5 primetime games, a lot of 2:30 games. Jump on board with us. Coming off a 2-1 last night in college football. One loser was Nebraska. Loved them last night. Let us down in overtime. But coming off 10-5 last week in college football, 2-1 last night. We're going to win for you. Go to lanceslock.com.
All right. And Brownie, really quick, nobody is bothered more by technical difficulties on our show than me, right? For 15 years, you guys say, Jim, it's no big deal. Don't worry about it. If the mic's echoing, don't worry about it. This or that.
Not a big deal.
In 4 morning shows this year, I've had 2 major disastrous technology foul-ups here. I am my own worst nightmare this year.
You're Florida State right now for these shows. We need to pull you out of the ditch.
I went into the portal with this new laptop, and it has been a crap show.
Everybody enjoy your college football Saturday. We'll be back with you Monday, 7 a.m. for Monday Morning Live and all day Monday. Enjoy your football Saturday.